Hey everyone, in this video we're going to translate the chapter 21 story from the Ecce Romani textbook. Now this is the third chapter in a row that's really been hitting on perfect tense. So 19, 20, and 21 really have the same type of grammar. There's nothing particularly new in this chapter, so we're going to skip over grammar for now. But before we dive in, you want to make sure that you have all the vocab under control. Like I always tell you, memorize the words as best you can because it's really hard to translate when you don't know what the words mean. And then you want to go back and read the story aloud. So find a classmate, read it to them, have them read it back to you so you can practice your speaking and your listening skills. And like I always tell you, it'll help you catch the patterns of how the language works, and you'll hear the different endings, which will help you with your translations. So that being said, let's dive right in because there is no new grammar that we really need to review. It's all perfect tense. We'll dive in and just try to make some sense of this story. So this is the first story we've seen that doesn't have anything to do with the Corneliuses. Instead, you're hearing a story that's being told by the soldier in the inn. So it starts with Miles hanc fabulum narravit. So Miles, the soldier, right? That's the one that they saw last chapter. They met while they were about to eat dinner. So the soldier, narravit, he told. And you'll notice the V before the IT makes it perfect tense. So he told hanc fabulam, this story. And now we get the story that he tells. Duo amici, aulus et septimus, dum iter in Graecia faciant ad urbem megaram venerant. So two friends, duo amici, there's your subject, and then it tells you their names, Aulus and Septimus, right? Aulus et Septimus. So two friends, while iter faciant, they are traveling, right? In Graecia, in Greece. So while they're traveling, or while you could say they were traveling, this is one of our subordinate clauses that we learned last chapter that starts with dum, and you'll notice that the main verb, venerant, is perfect tense. So even though iter faciant is present, you want to translate it as if it were imperfect. So you'd say while they were traveling in Greece. Venerant, they came, right? Perfect tense. Notice the erant ending. They came to the urbem megaram, the city of Megara. Megara is a Greek city. So they show up in Megara. Aulus in Caupona pernoctavit in villa hospitis septimus. So Aulus pernoctavit, he spent the night, again, perfect tense, notice the V in the middle of it. He spent the night in an inn, in Caupona. And again, it's ablative because you're showing position or location here. So Aulus, one of the friends, spent the night in the inn. The other friend, Septimus, you have to imply spent the night, right? Pernoctavit, in villa hospitis, in the house of a friend. And again, what we're getting at here is the idea of hospitality. If you had any friends along the route of your journey, you would definitely try to stay at their house. If you don't, you would end up at the inn. So that's kind of what they're getting at here with Septimus going one way and Aulus going another. Then we continue. We have media nocte, dum Septimus dormit, Aulus in somno ei apparuit et clamavit. So media nocte is ablative, in the middle of the night, while Septimus is sleeping, or was sleeping, again, you'd say, because it's a present tense subordinate verb with a perfect tense main verb, which is apparuit later on. So while Septimus was sleeping, Aulus in somno ei apparuit. So Aulus apparuit, he appeared, perfect tense. Notice how there's a U in front of the IT. This is the perfect tense, right? So Aulus appeared to him, dative, to him, in his sleep, right? In somno. So in his sleep, he appeared to him. Et clamavit, and shouted. And then we have what, Aulus shouts in his dream. It has age septime, fer mihi auxilium, caupo me nacare para. So come Septimus, and Septime is vocative, right? He's calling him by name. So he says, come on, Septimus, bring. Here's our imperative, our singular command. It's the verb fere, to bring. So fer is commanding one person to do something. He says, bring to me help, or literally you could say, bring help to me. Bring me help, right? He's saying he's in trouble. Caupo, the innkeeper, parat nacare. Here's our complementary infinitive. The innkeeper is preparing to kill me. So he's shouting in a dream to his friend, or in other words, Septimus is sleeping and he's dreaming about Aulus saying, come help me, the innkeeper is going to kill me. Then we have Septimus, somnio perteritus, statum surrexit et postquam animum recuperavit, nihil mali inquit, somnium modo fuit. So Septimus, perteritus, terrified by the dream, somnio's ablative, so terrified by or from the dream. Immediately, right, statum surrexit, he got up. And again, the X in surrexit is telling you it's perfect tense. So he immediately got up, meaning rose up out of bed. And after, right, postquam, recuperavit animum, after he regained his senses, literally kind of like recuperated his mind, but regained his senses, he said, nihil mali, there's nothing wrong. Nihil mali literally means nothing of bad, but you can translate there's nothing wrong. Fuit, it was only a dream, somnium modo. And in that last line, fuit, is the third principal part of sum esse. So you want to catch that. It's irregular, but the principal parts for the verb to be go sum esse fui. So fuit, you can translate there was, or it was in this case. That's why we're translating it. It was only a dream. Then we continue. We have dende iterum obdormivet. So next, or then, he again went to sleep, right? Obdormivet, perfect tense. He went to bed. So again, he goes back to bed. Iterum, again, however, tamen, so again, aulus apparuit. So insomno aulus suo amico apparuit. So aulus appeared, apparuit, in the dream, in somno, or in sleep, to his friend. Suo amico is dative, to his friend, meaning that Aulus shows up to Septimus again. Iterum septimo clamavit, ubi ego auxilium petivi tu non venisti. So again, clamavit, he shouted. It's perfect tense, meaning Aulus shouted to Septimus, right? Septimo, to Septimus, he shouted. And he shouts, when, ubi, I, right, ego, when I looked, petivi, perfect tense, when I looked for help, auxilium, right, meaning looked for help from you. To, that's a subject, you did not come, non venisti, it's perfect tense. So when I looked for help, meaning look for help from you, you didn't come. So Aulus is kind of blaming his friend in the dream here. Nemo me adiuare nunc potest. So nobody now, nunc. So nemo means nobody, nunc means now. So now nobody is able, potest, adiuare me, to help me. So he's saying it's too late. No one's able to help me. Kaupo enim me nekawet. So because the kaupo, the innkeeper, nekawet, killed me. Nekawet, again, is perfect tense. So Aulus says it's too late. No one can help me. The innkeeper already killed me. Postquam hoc fecit, corpus meum in plaustro possuit et sterca supra coniecit. So after, meaning after he killed him, right? So after hoc fecit, after he did this, notice how fecit is the perfect tense, right? Facit with an A would be present. When you flip it to an E, now you're dealing with the third principal part of facio facere. It's facie, that third principal part. So after he did this, perfect tense. And again, corpus meum is the direct object. So you have to go to possuit. Perfect tense again, he placed, meaning the innkeeper placed my body, and corpus is neuter, which is why the accusative singular is still spelled corpus. So he placed my body in plaustro, in a wagon. And coniecit, he threw, supra, above, or on top of it, you could say. He threw stercus, poop, manure, right? That's what he threw on top of my body. Kind of a pretty terrible ending for poor Aulus here. So he's saying, the innkeeper killed me, put my body in a wagon, and covered it with poop to hide the fact that, he killed him, right? Another wild story from Ecce Romani. Then we have in animo habet. So he has in mind. This is present tense. So he's intending, or literally he has in mind, movere, to move, plaustrum, the wagon, ex urbe, out of the city, cross, tomorrow. So he's saying he put me in the wagon, he covered me with poop to hide the fact that I'm in there, my body, and now he's planning to take the wagon out of the city tomorrow and move it. Necesse est igitur cras mane plaustrum petere et calponem punire. So he says it's necessary, therefore, to look for petere. Remember, necesse est is taking an infinitive. Petere, to look for the plaustrum, the wagon. And he says you have to look cras mane, tomorrow, cras, early in the morning, mane. So he says it's necessary to look for the wagon, and punire, to punish the calponem, the innkeeper. Right? So he says you got to go find the wagon, find my body, and punish the innkeeper. Iterum surrexit Septimus. So again, Septimus surrexit, got up, perfect tense. Prima luce ad calponam iit, et plaustrum petivet. So at first light, prima luce, again, the temporal aspect is why it's ablative. You're talking about time. So it says at first light, he went to the calponam, to the inn, right? And he looked for petivet, the plaustrum, the wagon. So remember, Septimus is not at the inn. He's at the house of his friend. So he has to go to the inn first, right? He went there, perfect tense, iit. And then he looked for that wagon. Ubi plaustrum invenit, stercus remoit et corpus extraxit. So when he found, invenit, when he found, perfect tense, the wagon, he removed, remoit, right, perfect tense, the poop, the stercus, the manure, and he extracts it, he dragged out the body, the corpus. So he did exactly what Aulus told him. He went to the inn, he found the wagon, he took off the manure, and he found his friend's body. Septimus, ubi amicum mortuum vidit lacrimavit. So Septimus, when, right, ubi, vidit, he saw, perfect tense. So when he saw his dead friend, amicum mortuum, when he saw his dead friend, lacrimavit, he cried. Caupos calestis quoque lacrimavit, nam innocentiam simulabat. So the wicked innkeeper also cried, quoque lacrimavit, right? So caupos calestis is your subject. He also cried because he was simulating, he was pretending innocentiam, innocence, right? He was pretending to be innocent. So he's trying to cry so nobody suspects that he's the one who actually killed Alice. Septimus tamen cauponam statim accusavit. So Septimus, however, immediately accused, perfect tense, accusavit. He accused the innkeeper, because remember, Septimus knows he's the one who killed Alice. So he immediately accused him. Mox, cives eum puniverant. So soon, Mox, the citizens, the cives, they punished, right? Puniverant. They punished him, meaning punished the innkeeper. So Septimus accuses the innkeeper, and all the citizens nearby realize that this is the guy who murdered Alice, and they punish him. Postquam miles fabulam finivit, silentium fuit. So now we're back to the present tense. We're back with the Cornelius family, or the present moment, I should say. So after the soldier finished, finivit, perfect tense, the story, the fabulum, there was fuit, silentium, silence. Remember, fuit is the third principal part of esse, so you can translate it there was. So after he's done with his story, there was silence. Subito Cornelius exclamavit, agite pueri, nonne vos iusi post cenam cubita mire, cur ad cubiculum non istis. So suddenly Cornelius shouted. Exclamavit is perfect tense, right? Because there's the V in the middle of it. So he shouted, come on, boys, agite pueri. Again, agite is a plural command. The TE tells you he's telling more than one person to do something. In this case, it's the pueri, the boys. So he says, come on, boys. Surely I ordered, you see, right? Perfect tense. I ordered you all, vos is your direct object. I ordered you all to go to bed, cubitum ire, after dinner, post cenam. So he says, didn't I tell you to go to bed after we ate dinner? Then he says, why, cur, non istis? Why did you not go to bed, to the bedroom? Ad cubiculum. So why did you not go to the bedroom? So he's telling them, it's time to go. We've heard this story, but now you got to go off to bed. Said Sextus, nos quoque fabula militis audire volumus, I should say. Non defeci sumus, non sero est. So, but Sextus said, we also wanted, volumus is perfect tense, the imus ending gives it away. So we also wanted to hear, audire, the fabula militis, the story of the soldier. Non defeci sumus, we are not tired. Non sero est, it is not late, right? Sero means late. So he says, we're not tired, it's not late, we just wanted to hear this story. Hoc tamen dixit Sextus quod cubitum ire timebat. So it says, however, Sextus is your subject, dixit. He said this, hoc is your direct object. He said this because timebat, he was afraid, cubitum ire, to go to bed, complementary infinitive. So he was afraid to go to bed because of the story he just heard, right? So he's pretending that he's not tired, he just really doesn't want to go to bed. Dum enim fabula militis audiebat, cauponem spectabat. So while he was hearing or was listening, audiebat, while he was listening to the story of the soldier, the fabula militis. So when he was hearing the story of the soldier, spectabat, he was watching the cauponem, the innkeeper, rather. So he was watching the innkeeper. Cogitabat, quam scelestus ille caupo videtur. So he was thinking, cogitabat, meaning he was thinking to himself, how wicked, quam scelestus, that innkeeper, ille caupo, videtur, seems. So he's watching the innkeeper and he's thinking, wow, he seems like a pretty wicked guy too, because he's hearing a story about an innkeeper who killed someone. Certe in animo habet media nocte me necare, necesse est vigilare. So he says, certainly, certe, he has in mind, in animo habet, meaning the innkeeper has in mind, necare me, to kill me, media nocte, in the middle of the night. There's your ablative, right? In the middle of the night. So he thinks the innkeeper is going to kill him, right? Necesse est vigilare means it is necessary to be vigilant or to stay awake. So now Sextus is convinced that the innkeeper is going to try to kill him, just like the innkeeper in the story he just heard. Etiam Marcus timebat. So even Marcus was afraid, right? Marcus timebat, he was afraid. Etiam means even or also. So even Marcus was afraid. Cogitabat tamen, si hoc caupo est scelestis, gaudeo quod miles in caupona pernoctat, Eucleides certe nos adiuare non potest. So Marcus says, and it says, however, he was thinking, rather, he doesn't say it, cogitabat, he was thinking in his head. If this innkeeper, hoc kaupo, there's your subject, if this innkeeper is wicked, scolestis, I'm glad, gaudea, right, I'm happy, that the soldier, the miles, pernoctat, is spending the night in Caupona, in the inn. So he's saying, I'm really happy that we have a soldier nearby if this innkeeper really is an evil person. Euclides, certainly, right, certe, non potest, is not able, adjuare nos, to help us. So again, he's always digging at Euclides for being the tutor, not necessarily the fighter. So he says, obviously Euclides isn't going to be able to save us. So I'm glad that we have a soldier nearby. Then we finish off with this paragraph. You have inviti tandem pueri, cubitum ierunt, vigilare parati. So finally, or at last, the boys, and they're described as inviti, unwilling, right? So the unwilling boys went to bed, cubitum ierunt, right? Perfect tense, they went to bed. And the other description of the boys is parati, prepared to stay awake, right? The boys were ready to stay awake all night because they're afraid. Then you have mox tamen, semisomni fuerant. So soon, however, mox tamen, they were fuerant, semisomni, they were half asleep, right? So they're thinking they're going to stay up the whole night, but pretty soon they start to get tired. Brevi tempore abdormiwit Marcus. So in a short time, Marcus went to bed, right? He fell asleep as the. So that's the story for this chapter. And you'll notice they didn't mention Sextus. He's going to be awake, and you'll see what happens to him in the next chapter. But pretty straightforward. The only thing you're really after is practicing your perfect tense. There's a lot of perfect tense verbs in this story. You want to make sure that you feel comfortable with them, that you're getting a lot better at recognizing them. And if you reach a place where this story is pretty easy or pretty straightforward to translate, that means you're on top of everything. If you're struggling, you want to pause and think about what's throwing you off. Maybe it's perfect tense. Maybe it's the subordinate clauses. Just try to think of what's throwing you off in terms of your translation. But otherwise, you should be all set and ready to go. If you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll help you however I can. But otherwise, good luck with your translations, and hopefully you're feeling more confident as you go.